Hi there, welcome to Small Channel Problems. My name's VinPF and today we're going to be talking about YouTube monetization. Whether you've still decided to start your YouTube channel or not, or if you've already got it going, or if you're getting on ready for that cusp of moving over to monetization, I think this video will be interesting to you to get a kind of leg up into the monetization world and see what it's really about. Now before we get into it, to the real thick of it, the thing that you really want to take home from this monetization video is that YouTube isn't a get-rich-quick program. Now there are a lot of rich people on YouTube. They're mostly the upper few percent, to be honest, but you can earn a living off of YouTube if you have the right parameters and the right knowledge going into it. But if you're just starting out, which is kind of really what this channel is aiming at, people with little to no technical experience, it's going to be a long ride before you even are able to monetize, and then after that it's going to be even longer before you can see some actual return, maybe even break even, that sort of thing. We'll go into a little bit of an example of my own personal circumstances later so you can see roughly what kind of money you're going to be getting out of your channel. So monetization sounds great, but how do you get it? The key two parameters, your subscriber count and the amount of watch hours that you have. So the first one then is subscribers. Getting 1,000 subscribers is no mean feat. You can buy subscribers, but it is not recommended because those subscribers will be empty subscribers. They won't actually watch your content and they won't put anything towards the other parameter that you need, which is watch time. Of course, there are particular ways of buying that as well, but as a general rule, we don't recommend that. YouTube will eventually catch on to the kind of malpractice of that and they'll shut your channel down, give you strikes and that sort of thing. So generally, the best way of doing things is naturally. At some point, I'll do a video on how to gain your first 100, 500,000 and then up to 10,000 subscribers. But for now, the best one to look at is the second metric, and that's watch time. So watch time, as you might have guessed by the name of it, is literally the amount of time people are watching your videos on YouTube. You need 4,000 watch hours, which is about 240,000 watch minutes to be eligible for monetization. You need both of these metrics. You need the watch time and the subscriber count to be able to get it. You can't have one or the other. So really what that means is you need eyeballs watching your videos, not bots, not people that are paid. You need actual eyeballs enjoying your content. So that must mean you need actually good content to go onto YouTube in the first place. That can be a struggle when you're first starting out. If you go back and check some of my early videos on my actual channel, my whiskey related channel, they are really, truly awful. Hi everybody, welcome to the first episode of my new series of no-nonsense whiskey reviews. People will give you some dispensation for starting out. People know that you're just starting out, the technology isn't quite there yet, but if your content is on point and relevant and interesting, then you're going to get people watching. So to achieve like 4,000 watch hours, you're going to need a fair amount of videos as well. You might get some successful videos that do really well, and those are the kind of ones you want to focus on and maybe build up more. But realistically, you're going to want a back catalogue of videos to get going. So when you first start out, it might be worth thinking about how many videos you can get out. Not really as soon as possible, but within a decent time frame, and then work on your scheduling after that. But really the point I'm trying to make here with all of this is that it's a little bit of a slog at the start, especially if your aim is monetization. So let's look at a wee example about what monetization really means for a channel. Now when I started YouTube on my main channel, I started with zero, but at the time you were allowed to monetize your videos with anything at all. There was no adpocalypse, as they called it at the time. So I started out earning on my first month just a penny or a cent, as the case may be, and then moved up to maybe 2 or 3 cents. That's the kind of thing we're talking about now. If we fast forward to today, my main channel has around 7,800 subscribers, and that channel earns roughly between $50 and $60 every single month consistently. It ebbs and flows. The way that my niche works is that most people are drinking whiskey towards the Christmas time period, the holiday period. So you get a spike at Christmas and then a big summer lull. But on average, it's about $50 to $60 every month, depending. Now that really comes from a couple of key metrics you want to be looking at. So over the last 28 days, for example, from time of recording backwards, I got about 40,000 views across the channel that month. And that equated to 20,000 monetized views. So that's around half of the views went without an advert or some kind of YouTube premium whatnot. Now, YouTube doesn't always put an advert in front of you. Obviously, if people have an ad blocker, that doesn't count at all either. but YouTube is very aware that it doesn't want you to be put off from the service. After all, eyeballs are what's making the money around here. So if you see an advert on one of my videos on the main channel and you watch another one, it might not show you an advert for that second one, just to keep you watching and not irritate you with adverts. So those 20,000 views have turned into $60. Another thing you need to remember when you're talking about monetization is the YouTube cut. Now that $60, nicely rounded up for me, is my 60% share of the ad revenue. YouTube take 40% of that ad revenue every time. So you can see that 20,000 views is actually worth about $100 on my personal deal. Everybody has a different deal. You don't get to choose this thing. YouTube does it all for you. It ebbs and flows depending on how you're doing. It's just one of those things that, to be honest with you, I barely look at because it just happens. So my actual take home is that $60 for the 20,000 monetized views for my 40,000 actual views across the channel. So you can see that even though my main channel is nearing that 10,000 subscriber threshold mark, really that subscriber count has no actual bearing on the monetization apart from that first 1,000 milestone. After that, realistically, it's the views that count and the watch time that counts, and those can come from anywhere. So much so, it's an expansive point. That's going to be a whole nother video that I'll cover about different metrics in the YouTube algorithm. Okay, so we'll fast forward a little bit and we'll go on to the fact that you've now been monetized. It's how to stay monetized. Demonetization is a big thing on YouTube right now. There's been a little bit of controversy over the last few years with different YouTubers breaching the rules ever so slightly, or maybe even a lot in the different circumstances. But they've had their channels sometimes removed but demonetized for whatever reason. That's basically led the advertisers to be a little bit more stringent on what they want their adverts to be shown against. For example, my main channel, Whiskey Related, they don't really want to be putting adverts for like kids' toys and stuff on it like that. So nowadays I have to select that these videos are not made for kids, specifically not made for kids. Therefore, no kids advertising stuff will be appearing on my videos, nor will my videos be shown to anyone who does not have a 18 or older account. If you have an account, you have to be 18 or over on YouTube. That said, there are a whole heap of other ways that you might lose monetization on your channel. YouTube, for example, has a lot of guidelines, and I won't go into them all here today, but some of the things that they really don't like are things like swearing. They don't like nudity, of course, drugs or illegal activities. Basically, anything that you would think is really nasty, like hate speech or racism or anything like that. But ultimately, YouTube can choose whatever they like to demonetize. Right now, at time of release, we're in the middle of this coronavirus worldwide issue. So they are demonetizing videos that relate to the coronavirus in a negative or humorous or non-factual way. And really what that's doing is proving the fact that YouTube can just decide whatever they want to do, they want to just demonetize it. A great example, again, talking about my whiskey related channel, there are another subsection of the channels like my whiskey related ones that relate to tobacco and smoking. Now they have all been demonetized. You won't be able to get monetization on a tobacco video. So it may well be only a matter of time before they catch on to something like the whiskey related thing. Because it's alcohol, although we promote responsible enjoyment of a luxury product, it can be seen as promoting alcoholism, even though we definitely do not do that. But we're only one policy change away from that all changing. My point around this is that YouTube should never be seen as your sole revenue income, even if you do get to that point where you are earning a decent wage from YouTube. Of course, there are plenty of other ways that you can earn a little bit of money to help support your endeavors on YouTube. Great examples are, of course, Patreon and their ilk. And if you have a big enough audience, you can do things like merchandise sales. It's something that I personally do on my main account, but that really only comes with a larger audience base. Of course, the larger your audience, the more likely you are going to get a few people that want to wear your things or buy your stuff. And of course, while you're monetized on YouTube, you can have other things like super chats, or you can now join and get different benefits, which is similar to Patreon. Although I have to say YouTube do take a larger slice than Patreon do. The key point to remember about these little points here is to make them so that your fan base actually gets some extra added value out of them. I'll be doing a video in the future that covers things like extra added value for people who just want to give that extra little bit towards your channel. Okay, that's it for this monetization video. Hopefully you enjoyed it and picked up some good points. Going forwards, I'm going to be talking about more things about how to actually get your channel started, but I thought it was important to discuss monetization before we actually got onto starting the YouTube channel so that you fully understand what you're getting yourself into and that it won't be an overnight success if you're like everybody else that's on YouTube. Of course, there are channels out there that excel and move on, but you can look, if you really look at their overnight success, generally speaking, they've brought to the fold a long history of marketing or video or some other thing, or they might have a team behind them, that sort of thing. So if you're looking to emulate a channel that's made great success, it's going to be a lot harder than you think unless you have those things. And if you do have those things, you're probably not watching a video like this.